and how are you?
I'm fine. Before going to start our session, I would like to introduce to our global audience.
Yes, sure.
Dr. Pellen Wadlier is a professional of management and organization at Balkeshwar University, a consultant and keynote speaker specializing in digital transformation and management strategies. She is the founder of Digital providing organization with expertise in digital leadership and human-centered transformation, and has developed an innovative system job interview experience, recognized a utility model by the Turkish Patent and Trademark Office, an ICF certified coach and mentor. Professional earlier has published extensively in SSCI, Scopus, and Springer journals, and her work bridges academia and practice by focusing on the human, cultural, and leadership dimensions of the digital transformation. It was wonderful by you, Pellin.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
The
So,
stage is all yours.
yes, thank you so much. You great well. Thank you.
Okay.
So, can you see my screen?
Yeah, Pellin, it's okay. It's perfect.
It's okay. Maybe it's good to do this like that. Is it okay now? So, good morning, everyone. It's a real honor to be here with you today. Before we begin, I want you to remember something, a moment. Years ago, I was once told in a meeting, "You are too emotional for this decision." That sentence stayed with me. A moment when you were told, "Don't be too emotional." Maybe in a meeting, maybe in a classroom, maybe at home. Maybe you were praised for being competent, but criticized for being sensitive. Maybe you learned quietly to lower your voice, to reduce your intensity, to hide your empathy. Because somewhere along the way, emotion became a liability. But what if we were wrong? So, what if emotion was never weakness, but the most sophisticated form of intelligence we possess? Today, we live in a world that worships artificial intelligence. Algorithms predict behavior, machine write our text, system evaluate our performance. We have built machines that can process data faster than the human brain ever could. But we have not built a machine that can sit across from someone in pain and say, "I see you." We have not built a machine that can create trust in a crisis. We have not built a machine that can transform fear into courage. That is still human. And neuroscience confirms something revolutionary. The brain does not make decisions without emotion. So today, I invite you to rethink leadership, not as authority, not as dominance, but as the ability to create the psychological safety, trust, and transformation grounded in science. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer, the WAL and WH Global Virtual Summit Congress 2026 for bringing together such an inspiring community of global leaders and the professional. My name is Professor Dr. Pelin Vardarler. I am a professor field of the management and digital human resources. So today, I'm not here to talk about the emotion as a soft topic. I'm here to show you that emotion is actually the strategic leadership capability, and neuroscience proves it. Let's begin with the question: is emotion a weakness or the leadership advantage? For decades, leadership was defined by logic, control, and rationality. Emotion was often seen as something leaders should suppress, something that could make leaders appear less objective, especially for women. Women were often told, "You are too emotional, leaders require thoughtfulness, you need to be more rational." But neuroscience is now telling us something very different. Emotion is not the opposite of intelligence. Emotion is actually part of intelligence. And even more importantly, emotion is the central to decision making. Let's talk about the brain because leadership does not begin in a boardroom. It begins here. Every decision you make, every risk you take, every conversation you lead is shaped by neural circuits firing in milliseconds. Let's look at what neuroscience tells us. Our brain processes information through two key systems. The emotional brain, largely driven by the amygdala, and the cognitive brain, regulated by the prefrontal cortex. The amygdala processes emotional signals, fear, trust, threat, social signals. The prefrontal cortex, on the other hand, is responsible for reasoning, planning, decision making, impulse control. But here's the important point: these two systems are not separate, they constantly integrate. Research in neuroscience shows that emotion actually guide our thinking. Without emotional input, the brain struggles to make decisions. In other words, emotion is not a noise in the system. Emotion is data, and great leaders know how to read that data. Now, let me ask you something directly. Emotional intelligence is responsible for 58% of individual performance. So, what are you doing to enhance yours? Multiple performance studies show that emotional intelligence is one of the strongest predictors of leadership effectiveness because this is the uncomfortable truth. We train the leaders for strategy, we train the leaders for KPIs, we train the leaders for the digital tools, but we rarely train leaders for the skill that actually stabilize performance under the pressure: self-awareness and regulation. So if emotional intelligence shapes the performance this much, then building EQ is not the personal development, it's a leadership infrastructure. So you can see the figure, and the emotional intelligence is typically built on five core competences. Self-awareness is the ability to understand your own emotion, triggers, and behavioral patterns. And the other one, the motivation. Emotionally intelligent leadership use emotion as the fuel for resilience and long-term goal. So self-regulation, the ability to manage emotional reaction rather than being to control them. Empathy, the capacity to understand what the others are experiencing. The social skills, the ability to manage relationship, influence the others, and build the trust. These competencies are not soft skills, they are actually strategic leadership capabilities. So let me show you how emotion actually drives every decision we make. So the real question becomes, how do we train the leaders to master the emotional brain? Because leadership is not just about intelligence, it's about regulation. Leadership today requires the ability to remain calm in uncertainty, so to regulate the stress, to create trust within the teams, and to navigate complex social dynamics. This is where neuroscience gives us an important insight. Leadership skills not fixed traits, they are trainable neural patterns. So, when we look at the emotional regulation and emotional suppression, one of the most critical distinctions in leadership is the difference between these. Suppression means pushing emotion down, ignoring them, hiding them. But the neuroscience show that suppressions actually increasing the stress level. It activates the amygdala and raises psychological system stress response. Regulation, however, works differently. It involves acknowledge emotions and reframing them. Leaders who regulate the emotion think more clearly, make better decisions, and build stronger relationships. And stress plays a major role in leadership. When stress levels are too high, the amygdala hijack the brain. This known as the amygdala hijack. In those moments, rational thinking decreases, emotional reaction increase. So emotional intelligence leaders know how to prevent this. They use the strategies such as cognitive reframing, reflective thinking, emotional awareness. And the other things, now here's the good news. Your brain is not fixed. It's not static. It's adapts. This is called neuroplasticity. This means brain can change and rewire itself through experience and training. Leadership, therefore, is not something people are simply born with, and leadership can be trained. So, thought, emotional awareness, reflection, coaching, feedback, and practice. When we look at the from psychological safety to women's leadership side, emotional intelligence also plays a critical role in psychological safety. People think better when they feel safe, and they innovate more than they are not afraid. Leadership models were historically built around the dominance, control, and emotional suppression, but neuroscience now reveals something powerful. Now we arrive at a critical point. Another one is the woman leadership in the age of the artificial intelligence. For many years, leadership models were built around the command and control structure, but AI is changing and the nature of leadership. Machines are becoming better at the data processing, pattern recognition, predictive analysis. So, what becomes the uniquely human? Empathy, emotional understanding, social intelligence. These are areas where many women leaders demonstrate strong competencies. And women who embrace this and not defensively but strategically will not just participate in leadership. So, what happens when logic and emotion work in harmony? Leaders become more adaptive, more resilient, more capable of navigating uncertainty. The best decision emerge not from the emotion alone, not from the logic alone, but from the integration of both systems. So this model is based on James Grove's process model of the emotion regulation. It shows us something important. Emotion regulation is not a single reaction, it's a process. Situation selection, situation motivation, attention focus, cognitive reprisal, and separation. And the moment we intervene in that process determines the outcome. What you see here is not the psychology, it's a neural evidence. When we talk about the emotional regulation, we are not talking about the personality, we are talking about the brain networks. Neuroimaging studies show that cognitive reprisal engage the prefrontal cortex, while suppression increasing amygdala activation and psychological stress. This is why emotional intelligence becomes a strategic advantage because the suppression creates the internal pressure, regulation creates the emotional clarity. So, suppression damages the relationship, regulation strains trust, and leadership is ultimately about trust. So, suppression is survival, regulation is leadership. And the strategic advantage, emotional clarity under pressure, trust building in transformation, ethical decision making in algorithm system. This is why emotional intelligence become a strategic advantage. In this area, AI area, artificial intelligence, competitive advantage will not only come from the technology, it will come from the human capability, the ability to lead the people, inspire the team, and create the meaningful organizational cultures. Let me share a quote that beautifully captured the essence of the resilience in women's leadership. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "A woman like a tea bag. You never know how strong she is until you put her in hot water." In other words, strength often reveals itself not in comfort, but in challenge. Across the industries, we see the remarkable example of women leaders who are redefining the leadership. These women have not only broken the glass ceiling, they have revised the leadership model. So, by integrating empathy, emotional regulation, and the strategic thinking. So, women leadership is not a simply diversity trend, it's energetically aligned with the future of the intelligence leadership because the future will require the leaders who can manage the complexity, uncertainty, and the human dynamic simultaneously. And the future of the leadership is not about the playing the old game better. It's about the redesigning the board. Women never playing the game wrong. The game was designed with them in mind. But today we have the opportunity to redesigning the leaderships itself. Women leaders often demonstrate the key characteristics aligned with future leadership models: collaboration and emotional intelligence, effective communication, strong resilience, empowering the others. These capacities are not the weakness, they are strategic assets. And neuroscience now gives us the evidence to redesign the leadership the system, not with ideology, with the data, not with slogans, with measurable outcomes. Lower stress, higher trust, better decision making, stronger engagement. Evidence that empathy improves the team performance. Evidence that psychological safety fuels innovation. Now, I would like to shift for a moment from the neuroscience and leadership theory to something to more human, because sometimes the most powerful leadership message do not come from the research paper. They come from the voice that inspired the millions of the people. Lady Gaga, during one of her Grammy speeches, shared a message about the courage and the power of women to use their voice. I would like to show you a short moment from that speech. Before we watch it, I want you to listen carefully to one idea. The courage to be yourself is the foundation of the leadership. Let's watch.
I just want to say for women in music that I know sometimes when you're in the studio with a bunch of guys, it can be hard. So I urge you to always listen to yourself and always fight for your ideas, fight for your songs, fight for yourself as a producer. Make sure that you are heard loudly.
So, what makes this message powerful is not just words, it's a reminder that leadership is not about fitting into predefined roles. Leadership is about owning your voice. For many women, leadership has means navigating expectation and the barriers. Yet, when women with the emotional intelligence and the resilience, they do not simply succeed within the system; they transform the system. On the on the eve of the International Women's Day, let's honor women who have not only the rise in the top but changed what leadership look like. Women who had led the courage with empathy and with intelligence. So, today I would like to leave you with one final thought. The future will not be led by those who silence emotion. It will be led by those who understand it. We begin today with a memory, a moment when many women were told, don't be too emotional. For years, emotion was framed as a limitation, but science tells us the different story. Neuroscience shows us that emotion is not the opposite of the intelligence. It's in fracture of the intelligence. So let me return to my opening question. Is emotion a weakness or leadership advantage? If we listen to neuroscience and if we observe real leadership practices, the answer becomes clear. Emotion is not a weakness. Emotion is wisdom when regulated. Leadership in the future will not be defined by power. It will be defined by emotional intelligence, empathy, and human understanding. And women will play a critical role in shaping in this new leadership paradigm. So today, on the eve of the International Women's Day, I would like to celebrate all the inspiring women who continue to redefine the leadership. Happy International Women's Day. Thank you very much.
That was wonderful section, Pelin. We have a
Thank
few
you.
questions. We have a few questions from our audience.
Okay,
I would like
sure.
to ask you one of them. What are some practical ways to develop emotional intelligence in the workplace?
In the workplace. So emotion is a competency. So if you know your strengths or your weakness, so you can work or study on this. It's about the awareness. So for example, we know that the coaching system. So if do someone coaching for you, maybe you can support yourself and you can find your power in a powerful. So this is good for the the training yourself and the awareness. Maybe you can I'm saying to the same things, we can train our brain, so this is possible. But important things is motivation. If you can do really from your heart, so you can do it.
Thank you for answering the questions. We have few more questions from our audience.
Okay.
We will share it to your email. You can answer there.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Please stay on the backstage and join our next sessions.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye bye.